Nkechi was a pro at keeping her man. While other women were crying over cheating husbands, Nkechi's husband Emeka was like a remote control in her hands. He didn't look at other women. He gave her his entire salary and he worshipped the ground she walked on. In the upscale estate where they lived, everyone called Emeka the best husband in Lagos. Their marriage was the standard everyone used to judge their own relationships. On Tuesday nights, Emeka would come home with flowers for no reason. On Friday nights, he would book a private chef to cook Nkechi's favorite seafood okra in their own kitchen. He was a high-earning bank director, a man whose no was final in the boardroom, but at home, he was as soft as cotton. There was a day Nkechi mentioned that her feet felt a bit too heavy. Emeka didn't just buy her a foot massager. He cancelled his golf game with his billionaire friends, knelt on the living room floor and spent 2 hours massaging her feet with essential oils while she watched her favorite soap operas. "Honey, you do too much," Nkechi would giggle, stroking his hair. Emeka would look up with eyes full of a strange, almost vacant devotion and say, "I can never do enough for you. My life is your own. Nkechi, if you ask me to stop breathing, I will hold my breath just to please you." He didn't even have the password to his own mobile banking app. Nkechi handled everything. He would ask her for 1,000 naira to buy airtime, and he would thank her like she had given him a kingdom. It was sweet, it was lovey-dovey, and to the outside world, it was the ultimate goal. But every night, as the clock ticked towards midnight, the atmosphere in the house would change. The air would grow heavy, almost hard to breathe. Emeka would fall into a deep, unnatural, heavy sleep. The kind of sleep where you could drop a plate next to his ear and he wouldn't flinch. At exactly 12 a.m., Nkechi's eyes would snap open. There was no sleepiness in them, only a cold, sharp focus. She would slide out of the bed, her feet making zero sound on the marble floor. She would open her closet and pull out a long black overall dress. She would slip it on, covering her nightwear completely. Then, like a shadow moving through the house, she would walk to the kitchen. She did not turn on the lights. She did not need to. She went straight to the pantry, pushed aside a heavy bag of flour and pulled out a small traditional black clay pot. The mouth of the pot was covered with a bright red cloth, tied tightly with a dirty rough white rope. Her movements were ritualistic. She would take a bottle of murky grayish water and slowly refill the pot. As the water hit the pot, she would begin to whisper in a low, heavy voice, a voice that sounded far deeper than her own. She would start to command her husband's soul. "Emeka, look at me. Your eyes are now my eyes. Your heart beats only when I say so. Your brain is locked inside this clay. Where I go, you follow. What I say, you must do. You are my slave and I am your master. Forever and ever." She would do this for 30 minutes until the air in the kitchen felt thick and hard to breathe. Once she was done, she would hide the pot back in its secret spot, wash her hands and go back to bed, tucking herself under the duvet next to her husband as if nothing had happened that night. This cycle continued until Emeka's younger sister Chiso called. She had just finished her youth service and managed to land a big job interview with a multinational company in Lagos. Since she didn't have any other relatives in the city, she called her big brother to ask if she could stay for a few days. Emeka, sitting in the living room while Nkechi was using his lap as a footrest, cleared his throat nervously. He looked down at his wife, his eyes searching hers for permission. "Honey," he started softly. Chisom called. "She has that big interview we talked about. She's asking if she can manage with us for just 1 week. You know, she's my only sister and I haven't seen her in ages. Please, let's help her out." Nkechi didn't even look up from her phone. The silence in the room became so heavy you could hear the clock ticking. Then she slowly sat up, her eyes turning cold as she looked at her husband. "Emeka, so now you want to bring an outsider into our home?" she asked, her voice dangerously low. We had an agreement when we got married. No family, no third parties. Now, because it's your sister, you want to change the rules of this house. Are you saying your family is more important than our peace? No, no, baby, it's not like that at all. Emeka quickly went to his knees, clutching her hands. You are the only one that matters. I just thought I should let you know. Nkechi let him plead for almost 30 minutes, watching him sweat and beg before she finally gave a stiff nod. Fine, 7 days, not a minute more, and make it clear to her, I don't want any monitoring spirits in my kitchen. She stays in her guest room and minds her damn business. If she crosses her boundary even once, she's out on the streets. Chisom arrived at the house on a bright Tuesday afternoon, dragging her suitcase and feeling excited to see her big brother. The house was chilling with AC, and the scent of expensive vanilla candles filled the air. The moment she stepped into the living room, she was greeted by a scene that looked like a high-budget romance movie. Nkechi was lying across the long leather sofa, and Emeka, the same Emeka who used to be a tough guy back in the village, was sitting on a low stool by her feet. He was peeling oranges one by one, removing the seeds with a small silver knife and gently placing them into Nkechi's mouth. "Welcome, Chisom," Emeka said, but he didn't even stand up to hug her. He stayed glued to his seat, his eyes looking nervously at Nkechi. He was like a soldier waiting for a command from his general. Nkechi didn't even look up. She just gave a small cold nod. Only then did Emeka jump up like a robot to hug his sister. As he held her, Chisom shivered. His hands felt unnaturally cold, like a dead body, and his eyes looked completely empty, as if his soul had been sucked out of him. Over the next few days, the love Chisom witnessed was almost too much. One morning, Nkechi complained that her designer slippers were too far across the room. Without a word, Emeka dropped the newspaper he was reading, knelt on the floor and crawled to pick up the slippers. He didn't just bring them, he gently slid them onto Nkechi's feet, kissing her ankles afterward. "My queen shouldn't stress herself," Emeka whispered. Chisom sat at the dining table, her fork frozen halfway to her mouth. It was sweet, yes, but it was also weird. When Nkechi said she was tired of sitting in the parlor, Emeka didn't let her walk. He scooped her in his arms like a newborn baby and carried her all the way up the stairs, whispering sweet nothings into her ear, while Nkechi just played with his beards, looking like she owned him body and soul. Chisom watched them go, wondering why her brother, a man who used to lead his peers with fire, now had the eyes of a man who was dreaming while awake. The following day, Chisom went for her interview, but the company's generator became faulty and the session was postponed. She got home 2 hours earlier than usual. As she walked up the driveway, she noticed something strange. The heavy security door wasn't closed. It was slightly opened. Chisom frowned. Nkechi is too careful with this house to leave the door open, she thought. She stepped inside as quietly as a cat, not wanting to disturb what she assumed would be another lovey-dovey session. But the house was silent except for a low, fast-paced conversation coming from the kitchen. Chisom recognized Nkechi's voice, but the tone was different. It wasn't the sweet, soft voice she used with Emeka. It was sharp, loud, and full of pride. Chisom tiptoed across the marble floor, her heart starting to beat in her ears. She stopped just at the edge of the kitchen wall, holding her breath. She thought Nkechi was just gisting with her friend Linda about normal marriage stuff, maybe clothes or hair. She was about to turn around and go to her room when a specific sentence from Nkechi made her freeze. "Linda, if you see the way he was crying on his knees this morning just because I pretended to be angry, you would pity him. The pot is working wonders, oh. I don't even need to talk twice anymore." Chisom's eyes went wide. Which pot? She stayed glued to the wall, her ear pressed against the cold surface as Nkechi lowered her voice but continued to brag. "You know his sister is here, right?" Linda's voice asked from inside the kitchen. "Aren't you afraid she will notice something?" Nkechi let out a wicked laugh that sent chills down Chisom's spine. "Emeka's sister is here, acting like a detective, but she doesn't know her brother is already a ghost. As long as he drinks the specialty from my pot every morning, he belongs to me. I have his life in a black pot, Linda. He is my puppet for life." Chisom felt like her heart had stopped. The air in the hallway suddenly felt too thin to breathe. She didn't wait to hear another word. She turned and ran to her room, her mind racing with images of that black pot. She did not sleep that night. Every small sound in the house made her jump. At exactly midnight, She put her eye to the crack of the bedroom door. Her blood ran cold as she saw a shadow move. It was Nkechi, dressed in a heavy black overall, heading towards the kitchen like a culprit. The sight was so terrifying that Chisom had to cover her mouth with both hands to stop herself from screaming out loud. The next morning, Chisom couldn't hide it anymore. The moment Nkechi stepped out to the balcony to take a call, Chisom grabbed Emeka and pulled him into the dining room. "Brother, look at me. Look at your eyes in the mirror," she hissed, grabbing his shoulders. "You are not okay. You are like a walking corpse." She whispered everything she had heard at the kitchen door, the insurance, the black pot, and how Nkechi called him a ghost. Emeka just looked at her, his face as blank as a white wall. He let out a hollow, dry laugh that didn't sound like him at all. "Nkechi loves me, Chisom," he said. "She takes good care of me. You are just jealous because no man has ever treated you the way I treat her." Chisom felt like crying, but she hardened her heart. "I am not jealous. I saw her at 12 a.m. in that black dress. I saw her going to the kitchen while you were asleep." She shook him one last time. "Tonight, brother, do not drink that tea. If I am lying, I will pack my bags and leave before sunrise. But if I am right, you will finally see the monster you are married to." Against his own clouded judgment, Emeka agreed. That night, when Nkechi brought his usual special tea, he waited until she turned her back to pick up her phone. In one swift moment, he poured the tea into a large flower vase on the side table. At 12 a.m., the room went ice cold. Emeka felt the bed shift. He kept his eyes shut, his heart pounding against his ribs. He heard the rustle of the black dress. He heard the door open. He waited exactly 1 minute, then slid out of bed. He met Chisom in the dark hallway, her hands trembling as she held her phone tightly. They tiptoed to the kitchen. The air there smelt like burnt rubber and old sulfur. They saw Nkechi. She was hunched over the counter, the small black pot glowing with a faint sickly light. Her black dress flowed around her. She had the pot raised to her lips, making a loud, disgusting sound. "Nkechi!" Emeka roared, slamming his hand against the light switch. Nkechi turned around and Chisom let out a muffled scream. Nkechi's eyes were no longer brown. They were milky white with no pupils, staring at nothing and everything at once. The shock made Nkechi's hands lose their grip. The clay pot hit the marble floor and shattered with a bang like a gunshot. Bah! A thick, oily black sludge splattered across the white tiles, and the smell so foul like rotten meat and open graves filled the entire house. Immediately, Nkechi began to shriek. It wasn't a human voice. It sounded like 10 different people, men, women, and children screaming in agony through her throat. She began to spin in circles like a possessed person, her fingers scratching at her own skin as she tore her black dress into pieces. The string is broken. They are coming for me," she wailed, her voice cracking. She collapsed to the ground and started crawling on the floor like an animal, barking and snapping at the air like a mad dog. It was a terrifying sight. Her mind had completely lost it. The insurance had backfired, and the very powers she used to tie Emeka had now turned against her. Emeka stood there, the fog in his head clearing instantly. He looked at the woman he had loved, who was now crawling on the floor like a lizard, and felt nothing but anger. The best husband in Lagos was finally free, but the price was a memory that would haunt him forever. I hope you enjoyed every bit of this story. Please don't forget to like this video, drop a comment, and share. Bye, and see you in the next one.